Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, home of the 150th Preakness coming up. Big John Webster, how you doing, John?
Hey Gary, I'm doing real good, man. Another exciting week in sports, and you're right. The Preakness is coming up. What is it going to be this weekend, right?
Right,
Should be.
but without the Kentucky Derby winner.
Well, we go with what we got, right? That's all you can
hmm
do. Go with what you got. Hey, John Pitt, how you doing, man?
Doing good, guys. Before we got the Preakness, we got some more NBA playoff action this week. Can't wait, man. Starting tonight.
Hey,
Yes,
Gary,
indeed.
man. You know, I couldn't think of a better person I want to ask these questions to than you. What exactly is going on with the NBA playoffs, man? The Knicks win the first two on the road. Boston comes back and blows them out of the Madison Square Garden. We'll start right there. Then we're gonna roll into Indiana and what they did to Cleveland the other night.
Yeah. Hey, but I'm surprised you didn't talk about the other series in the Western Conference with OKC and Denver. That one's pretty compelling, but
Coming to it. We're coming to it. We got
okay.
we're trying to build up some drama so people will stay with us.
hmm Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, good point. Well, hey, in terms of Boston and New York, only thing I can say is that Boston figured out how to close out a game by making sure that New York didn't get close. Like I was listening to the game while driving through the mountains of West Virginia, and from what I could tell, one, they got their shooting touch back from outside. I mean, and they got it from everybody that they needed. For whatever reason, I don't. It's more about how the Knicks could not respond on their home floor and follow up what they did. And Boston, I guess, they were up by close to 30 points. It might have been 30 points, but I remember the Celtics announcers when it got down to 20 in the fourth quarter, and they started to get worried, and with good reason because the Knicks have made up two 20-point games. But I think in this game they clamped down on defense, and that's the other thing. They really did keep their main scorers from having a major impact. I mean, guys like Jalen Brunson, they're going to get theirs. I feel like, but I felt like they played decent defense on Karl Anthony Towns, and again, they got the scoring from Jason Tatum that they needed, from Jaylen Brown that they needed. They got some defense from Kristaps Porzingis that they needed. And really, again, if you're knocking down threes as Boston wants to do, that's their whole thing. That there's nothing that a team like the Knicks can do. And I think there was a point midway through the third quarter where it got to be like 20. I think they had cut the lead down to 24 points, and I was doing the math as I like to do during basketball games and try to figure out how many more possessions does each team have. And it's one of those things, John, where I guess they could trade baskets and the Celtics would win probably, by that same margin. But what you need is for Boston to miss, something like 15 possessions in a row, which they're not going to do, and the Knicks to hit every possession, which they're not going to do. In other words, one team would have to be really bad and the other team would have to be perfect just to make it a game. And you get to a point where you start to run out of possessions. I mean, teams go on big runs all the time, but again, what happens? One team can't miss, the other team can't make it. And I think that's that's what happened on Saturday, especially if Boston is playing the kind of defense that they can play, where it's not so much about blocking shots, it's about disrupting passes, deflections, forcing turnovers, forcing guys away from the basket. That's what they do. That's what they thrive on, and that's what appeared to have happened Saturday.
Well, you mentioned the defense. Their perimeter defense is excellent. I really like, and I mentioned this to you either last week or week before. Drew Holiday is very important to this series with his defense. Derek White, Pritchard, they're very much a key because of their perimeter defense, and you need that because you have to find a way to shut. I'm not going to say you're going to shut down. You're not going to shut down Brunson, but contain him.
Mhm.
Keep Hart in check. Keep Bridges in check. You know, that's is really a key. Saturday when they played, they were cooking on all cylinders. Now, just me still, Gary. I'm showing my age. It's a few too many threes still,
Mhm.
and
I agree.
I applaud. I applaud Mazzulla. Did I say his name right? Joe Mazzulla. Did I say his
Yeah.
name right? The coach.
Mhm.
He stuck to his guns. All I'll say is sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And sometimes we all have an ego, every last one of us. And sometimes we will hold on to what we're doing a little bit too long. Right now it's working, not knocking it. Just saying, please take a few, just a couple less threes. Take that ball to the hole. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum played a great game. You already know how I feel about Jaylen Brown. I just think I think the world of him. I think he's a great player, as well as Tatum is too. But
Yeah.
I just love Jaylen Brown. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown. Love him. Horford did a great job as an aircraft carrier. Porzingis came in and controlled the middle and was a good rim protector as well. We'll see where this takes him in game 4. I'm looking at Boston to win and even this thing up, but you never know. Boston could go up 20 again and lose control. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, and we go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're the Knicks, um, it's one thing to have confidence from making up a big deficit, but they have to they have to jump out on Boston. That's what I'd like to see from them if they're going to win this series. We both picked Boston, but I want to see the Knicks win a game as opposed to Boston losing a game. If you know what I'm saying, it's like, yeah, the Knicks show that, yeah, they can stay focused enough to make up a deficit. Boston had to show that it could stay focused to keep a lead for 48 minutes, which they did. And that's the impressive thing. But the Knicks need to really come out and win a game before I'll feel better about them. And like you said, I think it's a chance for Boston to really build on a blowout. We often see when teams blow out an opponent, then they come back and lay an egg or struggle the next game. I don't know if that's the case, but what I hope for Boston's standpoint is now they realize, okay, they got their shooting confidence back. They've got a little bit more of a defensive presence, and they have a little bit more of a post presence with Porzingis. And as you said, guys like Derek White and Drew Holiday, have to contribute. But I'd like to see Holiday, contribute his intermediate jumpers, as I mean, as all of them can. And that's what I think Boston really needs. Understand those threes are nice, but they weaved in a lot of twos as well, and that's the thing that really helped them in that game.
Well, you mentioned you're feeling better. Are you feeling better about Indiana going as they are up 3-1 on Cleveland, and the possibility of Donovan Mitchell being injured?
Yeah, it's like, I didn't even watch that game last night. I
Lucky
mean,
you.
yeah, well, the thing was, after watching OKC in Denver, it's like I felt like I had to go out back and do some Tai Chi or something to calm down from that, because really that was a gut check game, and I remember feeling like I don't know if anything could top this, but Indiana, um, I keep waiting for them to wake up from a dream or something and come back to earth. But I don't know, a game like like yesterday, game 3, or rather game 4, I think they really kind of showed again how much energy they have. And really, Cleveland, from what I saw in the replays and what I heard from commentary, is that they look kind of tired and beaten, defeated, if you will. And that's not a good sign, even if you're going back to Cleveland. We've seen Cleveland make up a 3-1 deficit before when it counted most in the finals against Golden State. But this kind of team that they're playing, which, the whole cliche about playing with house money, but Indiana is playing like a team that doesn't really know any better. I mean, they found themselves, they found confidence in the first round. They found confidence in the first 2 games of this series. Yeah, they got beaten game 3, but then they came back and and walloped them in game 4, and they've got swagger. That's the word I was looking for. And Cleveland, Indiana is a team that's, they don't know what they don't know. And what they don't know is that, they should not be down to the number 1 seed in the East. And they're just saying, look, this is why we play the games. And they're just pouring it on. Siakam is he's just ridiculous to me. I mean, he reminds me of the guy that was with Toronto a few years ago and, and helped them up in the playoffs and in the championship. And I mean, that's the guy who is like the scariest on the floor for me for Indiana. We can say all we want about Tyrese Halliburton, but he's showing that he can be up and down. He was more up than down in this game, but Siakam is really the guy I think that's making them go right now, and it's kind of giving them that kind of confidence that yeah, we can beat anybody. And if you just give me the ball, I can help you do it.
Indiana is a very interesting team. They always are putting pressure on you, offensively and defensively. Uh, you have Halliburton, who does a great job directing traffic out there. He is a tremendous ball player, absolutely tremendous. And then you have your choice. You have Obi Toppin, or you have Siakam, or you have Miles Turner, or then you have Naismith. And then the guard play. You got what's it? Nimhart.
Oh
Then
yeah,
McConnell coming off the bench, and then Ben Metherin. He's coming off the bench. They're just so interchangeable and they're so tough. And the other night when they played Cleveland, they were up by 40 at halftime, and it's just they never stop the pressure. And I have to stress, the pressure just is not on defense. I mean on offense. The pressure. No, I said it right first time. Pressure is not just on defense. The pressure is coming from the offense too, because they are so much of a moving and fluid team. You don't know. All of them can take a role and score, put the ball in the basket. You're not depending on Halliburton. You're not depending on Miles Turner. All of them can put pressure on the defense because they all can score the ball. So, with
yeah.
that being said, you mentioned earlier OKC and Denver. How's your Tai Chi classes going, Gary?
Well, the little quiet session that I had out back, listening to the nature and taking deep breaths, that was really an exhilarating game to watch and listen to, because I'd listened to the first half of it and watched the second half, watched the close, and I obviously the most impressive thing about OKC is you saw a young team mature in the clutch. And that was something that was lacking in the first 2 games, when really they had a chance to close out, really both games, and they faltered down the stretch. This time, they kept the deficit manageable and just kept chipping away between their stars. You could say whatever about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the probable MVP, but the help he got in the middle defensively, the help he got on the offensive end, but really it's like they rattled Denver down the stretch. They really denied the ball to Jokic, which is what you have to do because he can shoot from anywhere, he can hit from anywhere, but they frustrated him on defense, and it got to a point where he was just kind of throwing the ball up just to see what can happen. It's worked for him before, but it didn't work down the stretch there. Murray's going to get his, but like you said about limiting a guy like Jalen Brunson, you've got to limit Murray, especially in key situations. But just some of those turnovers that they forced down the stretch, and really the kind of shots that Denver was taking, they just weren't falling. They got some decent looks, especially near the basket, but they just weren't falling. And I don't know how much of that was just, sometimes you miss, but from what I could see down the stretch, that OKC just really did a good job from keeping them away from that cylinder where they can be effective and forced them those one or two steps away from the basket, especially some of those baseline attempts that they took. Those were looks that normally they would go in, but they just did not seem right in taking some of those shots down the stretch.
It's a very interesting series. I don't see either team really getting a foothold right now. It's going back and forth. I'm hoping OKC can pull it out. This is really a different kind of ball. And when I say different kind of ball, it's not like you're playing a different sport, but you're going against a team in Denver who is a NBA champion. And they're very much a veteran-laden team. You have Jokic, you have Murray, you have Aaron Gordon, you have Porter. They've all been there on that championship team, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then you add in Westbrook, and Westbrook is really playing well coming off the bench. They're a tough team. But if OKC can hold on to their concepts when they're moving the ball, being fluid, not just waiting for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You got Court out there. You got Jalen Williams can hit some shots. Keep the ball moving. Don't wait. Also, one of the things that it just for me, get the ball in the guard's hands. Get the ball in the guard's hand. If you're an aircraft carrier, you get the rebound. Get the ball to Williams. Get the ball to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Get the ball to Caruso. Get it to a guard. Don't try to bring the ball up court yourself. Let the guards do that. You get down the paint. And I guess I'm sounding like a grumpy old man on that, Gary. But you're an aircraft carrier for a reason. So get down there and you do your thing.
Yeah,
Gary, one last series to talk about. Interesting series. Minnesota and Golden State. What's going to happen, my friend?
Well, I wish I knew what's going to happen, but I'll say this. Again, much like Minnesota, much like Boston and OKC, they found their game just in time because going on any team's court and trying to win, but when you're down 0-2 is difficult, if not impossible. And that game, that victory, I think was huge, I say, in terms of them getting, kind of their own swagger back, whether it's, Randall contributing baskets, whether it's Anthony Edwards, doing what he does. But of course, there is something to be said with the absence of Steph Curry, who I guess if he comes back from his injury, could be Game 6 at the earliest, and a lot could be different then. I kind of like Minnesota just because of how they're playing and how they're neutralizing guys like Butler. Butler has been a great addition, and Butler is a dangerous player. but again, they can limit him at key moments, or at least that's what they did in this game. They made shots, and again, really, they played their game. They got their offense, and they also got a lot of twos. Those twos can pile up and create a lot of points too. So, we always talk about a team that loves to knock down the three, John. But I love anything inside the arc too, as long as it goes in.
Interesting series. I think it would be different if Curry was playing. Unfortunately, woulda, shoulda, couldas do not matter.
Mm-hmm.
Game 4, Golden State needs to win. I hope they can pull it off. If they lose game 4, I think the series is over in 5. If they're able to win game 4, I think it's coming back to it will come back to game 6 in Golden State. Hopefully Curry will be able to play, but game 4 is very important tonight for Golden State. They need to get a win. So
Yeah.
we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, you really, if you have a chance to take the commanding lead, you got to do it, because if it becomes a 2 out of 3 series and you've got to play 2 games away from home, the odds work against you, because that team has the momentum, and of course they have home court advantage, and that's something. Yeah, Golden State. I mean, they did it in those first 2 games, but I don't know if they can do it with 2 out of the next 3 on the road if they don't win tonight.
Good point, Gary. We also have the NBA lottery coming up, Gary. Give me your quick thoughts on that, man. You got 15 teams, OKC at 15. Then you got San Antonio, Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, Portland, Toronto, Sacramento, Dallas, New Orleans. And then you have your top 5 with Utah, Charlotte, Wizards, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia.
Well, I'm going to say something unpopular here. It's like, is there a way that the Wizards can be contracted before this thing goes off? Because we see them in there every year, John. It's getting old. It's getting way old. This team is not going to improve. I don't care if they get the number 1 pick and they draft Cooper Flag. I'll say a team like, if Philly gets it, great. Because I think, they're a young team. You've got Tyrese Maxey, but I don't know. It's like, if you're Charlotte or the Wizards, it'd be great if you got the team, but you just got to build around them, and those are teams that I feel like are going nowhere. Maybe Utah to a different extent. I mean, but Utah has the first pick, Wizards have the second pick, Charlotte third pick. Other than, say, maybe Utah, I just don't see having that first pick and getting a Cooper Flag really helping them, unless you try to bring in some other pieces through the draft or through free agency or trades. That's how
The Wizards have been getting better. They have,
John, they won 18 games.
Yeah, but they have a process, Gary. The process is one where they're trying to tear it down and then build it back up. I'm trying to be patient with it. I'm trying to think positively that this will work for them. This is the Washington Wizards version of what is the team? What was it? The 76ers that had what was that called? Just stay with the process. That this is what the Wizards are trying to do. I totally get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. But I'm hoping, with all these young players that they have, and maybe if they were able to get one or 2 or 3 as with a top pick, I'm hoping that could help them turn the corner, move forward. Been a long time since we've seen sunny days with the Wizards and the Bullets, Gary. So we will see. The thing that's really scary is if you get a team like OKC or San Antonio or Houston getting in those top 3 picks, and that's just the rich getting richer. So,
no doubt. Okay, if you're talking about Utah, Washington, Charlotte, um, how do you measure, oh, and New Orleans, how do you measure progress and in the process for those teams? I mean, you're talking about four teams that none of which won more than 20 games, 21 games. I don't know. How do you measure progress? Do you measure it at 30? Do you measure it at 35? I mean, do you feel like Cooper Flag can have that kind of impact in terms of turning a franchise around?
I think Cooper Flag can be a very productive and key element to any franchise. I also think there are a couple other players that could help. It all depends on what you're looking for, Gary. I think Cooper Flag, from what I saw this year, is probably one of the most complete ball players that's going to be in this draft. I think he would be great wherever he went. You just got to figure out what you need. You mentioned New Orleans. If I'm New Orleans, I'm probably trying to put together a trade for Zion Williamson and seeing what I can do with that to see if I can move further up. That's not to say Zion Williamson is a bad player, but I think he needs a change of scenery. I think he needs to be somewhere different and try to start over again. I think he's a very good player. I think his game is very explosive. So I think that's part of the reason why he has so many injuries he has, because he has a very explosive game. But we'll see. Charlotte, you mentioned Charlotte. I guess you put them in the category with the Washington Wizards. They struggle all the time, and they are starting over. They will only get so far in the past. So we'll see what's going to happen now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Charlotte because they are owned by one Michael Jordan, and you can be very, very surprised at that team. Given what many people consider the GOAT. But as far as Jordan is moving into a contributor's role with NBC Sports on their NBA coverage this coming season, which I think is interesting on a whole lot of counts, not just because it's Michael Jordan, but because of the position that he's in and the perspective that he can add as a former player and as a team owner trying to build a franchise, because daggone well he's going to face questions about his own franchise as he talks about the league and other franchises.
Well, I think he sold his interest in the Bobcats. I don't think he owns it anymore, Gary. I don't think.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
you're
wrong.
probably right. Well, yeah, I mean, I think he is still on that, still on that board. I think he has an interest, but yeah, you're right, not a controlling interest, but still, that franchise is still kind of tied to him or
Sure.
considered tied to him, and I guess that's the perspective, I guess that I look at with him. But yeah, you are
Yeah.
correct about that one.
Yeah. I've always been a big Michael Jordan fan. It'll be interesting. It's like when you have Magic Johnson on the set. You have a perspective of somebody that's been through it. You know, the highs, the lows, and everything else. And Jordan being there, Jordan can add a lot of insight. Um, it's going to be really interesting to see how NBC uses him. He's not going to be somebody that's going to be on set every week because he's a very busy guy, and I don't think he has the time to set aside to be on there every week. But he's going to have some interesting nuggets to add to any game that he's a part of.
Yeah. The take I really want to hear from him too is about the state of the NBA and how the game has gone since he has departed. We're looking at a 3-point league, 3-point shooting league. And, for a guy like Jordan who, did it on both ends, created stuff and made his teammates better. I'd really love to hear what his take on how to build a winning team is, or on how players are and what they're, the way that they're playing now, what they learn in college or not learn, and whether they progress in the NBA. Because, you and I are old enough to remember when Steph Curry was at Davidson lighting it up, and we thought it was entertaining. He was a fun player to watch. Of course, he's the greatest perimeter shooter that the league has seen. And he's changed the game. And from somebody like Jordan, who changed the game as well, I want to see how he feels like the league or what the league needs to do to kind of maybe shift the emphasis from the perimeter, it back inside. Because John, we're not too far removed from that time, maybe about 10 years ago when, drafting big men was the thing. Guys like Karl Anthony Towns, for example, that I remember that it was becoming a big man's league. Now it's a 3-point league.
Things are cyclical. What's cool today will be L7 squared tomorrow, so.
Ooh, ooh, man, I just grew another gray hair on that one.
Did I reach back on yesteryear for that one?
Yeah, yep. John, you literally went back like 44 years. That's how old
Well,
you
we'll, it'll be interesting. Like I said, he'll have some very interesting comments and nuggets to add. And I think it's a great move by NBC. Absolutely great move.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and that's what we love about the NBA.
Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
Well, okay. There's so much to love about sports. I alluded to the Preakness coming your way at Pimlico, soon to be demolished or soon to be rebuilt. Pimlico journalism is in the Derby. Sovereignty is not. I think journalism has a chance to atone for coming up a length and a half short at the Derby. We've got WNBA season about to start. Let's see. I think John's favorite sport, soccer, football. There's still plenty of that, and I mean, I don't know how much you can really change after what we saw with the Champions League last week. Woo! Now you talk about Tai Chi. That game between Inter and Barcelona was something. I enjoyed the heck out of that.
Yep, it was a great game. Great
Oh yeah,
game.
PGA Championship. Yep, we got that. Yeah, Scotty.
Gary, real quick, who wins the PGA? Real quick, who wins?
I like Scheffler. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, he's still the best player in the world. Those kind of courses are built to play long, to a lot of these guys as opposed to the U.S. Open. I think it goes into Scheffler's game.
With that being said, everybody, thank you for joining us for another week of the Daily Deuce. Watch some football, watch some basketball, watch some soccer, watch the NHL playoffs, watch the WNBA, but above all else, just watch some sports and come back and see us. Take care.